For those who are here new and haven't met me before, I am John W. I'm a product manager here at Jane as well as your host. A bit about me: prior to working at Jane, I worked at a physical therapy clinic that was partnered with a university to manage the health and care of their labor force. I worked the front desk. I also worked as a kinesiologist. I did finish my bachelor's of kinesiology in Canada. I worked there to screen patients and worked alongside that physical therapy team. For the last 5 years, though, however, I've been working here at Jane, helping the helpers provide care, as many people as I can help as possible. I also love nachos. I'm sure there's a debate whether or not people actually eat the sour cream that comes to them when you go to a restaurant. I am not one of those big fans. Just a really quick introduction for the seminar as well today. This is a short and sweet version. We've been introducing features over the last couple of months. This webinar is tailored to be quick for any providers who are watching. It is also going to be recorded so we can share it out. But if you're looking for a longer webinar, keep an eye out for a future one, which will be clinical surveys, a deep dive, where we will go into more detail. So today we'll cover three quick topics, and then we'll review a few examples to get you up and running so you are using the right tools to measure clinical progress in your practice. So that is really about clinical surveys today. What we're going to cover today is just these few points. What are clinical surveys? Which patient form should you use? We have a few now. How do you use a clinical survey? And then we'll get into some examples. At the very end, I'll just do a quick recap of some tips, and then you're on your way. So the first part here, jumping right into it, what is a clinical survey in Jane? There might be some other terms out there, but a clinical survey specifically in Jane has a couple different features to it. These were originally introduced in 2020. If we go back, we had COVID introduced at that time, and so we had a couple cases, use cases in mind. The first one was to help clinics screen clients for COVID symptoms. We didn't have a tool to do that at the time, and so we introduced clinical surveys to help everybody get back into clinic and practicing seeing clients. However, in the back of our minds, we really wanted to lay the foundation for tracking patient outcome measures over time, tracking that patient progress. So what we're seeing is there's actually going to be a little bit of a transition. The most common use case is something for an outcome measure to track patient progress: PHQ-9, FMS, NDI, GAD-7s, depending on your discipline. And then if you do want to use it for sending a quick survey to clients before or after their appointment to measure and monitor their care, you can do that as well. Across Jane, you're going to see there are a few different types of patient forms. We have a survey, an intake form, and a ratings and review form now. And so I wanted to cover the difference between the 2 or 3 different types of forms that you might be using in your practice. Over the last few years, we really only had our intake forms. That was to help with, as it's in the name, intake form, the intake process. You're collecting the patient demographics, so first name, last name, emergency contact, maybe their occupation. You might be collecting their credit card information through Jane Payments. If you aren't using Jane Payments, it's a very, very handy feature. You can have the credit card stored on file. It's fantastic. We've added the ability to collect insurance information. If you're coming for the first time, hey, do you have insurance? We can bill directly through there, both with TELUS in Canada, and then we also have some integrated claims work for the US. Then a customer would finally, or client would finally get to the questionnaire portion. Why are you coming? What's hurting? Those prompting questions you might ask them upon their first visit. And then you'll end with the consent. That's the intake form. It can be sent on a reoccurring basis. However, you usually do that every 6 months to a year. That's more commonly what we see. And that's just to keep the patient demographic information up to date. Or if they haven't come in for a significant period of time, you might do that process all over again. Our clinical surveys, in Jane are much, much simpler. They are just the questionnaire portion. The questionnaire is ideally short and simple. So we typically see the questionnaires and surveys very easily done. Then the last one here is just a ratings and review system. So our ratings is more like a patient reported experience measure. And so you can ask your client, how was that service? How are you feeling? Get a score of 1 to 5, and then there is a comment field. The goal of today is to understand the purpose and how you can use surveys, and I'm going to show you really quickly just a slide on where these are different. When we jump into our comparison table, you do need the right tool for the right job. So like I said, the intake form is a multi-step process. During the intake of a new client, you're asking a lot of questions. These are automatically sent to clients based off of a few different settings. The discipline, the staff member, maybe even a specific treatment. You might have some questions and consents you want to collect. Ratings and reviews, on that far other side, it's just to collect patient feedback. That doesn't even go into our charting area. It actually goes into a different dashboard. And clinical surveys sits right in the middle of these two. It has some automatic features once they are set up. You do have to set these up individually on a patient profile. And these are primarily used to monitor patient progress over time. Unique to them, they are the only chart entry or the only questionnaire here that can actually calculate a score automatically. The PHQ-9, that is done, calculated a score of 21, I believe. I could be wrong here. I'll have to double check. FMS is out of 21, and then your NDI is out of 50. We can tally those sums really quickly. So that's unique to clinical surveys. And generally what we'll see is for a provider, you're selecting a certain outcome measure, tool, or questionnaire, and you're using that to progress your client over time, or to show that progress. So how do we use them? How do you actually get to use these clinical surveys? How do they get to be set up? I will show you that through a quick live demo here. I am signed into our demo clinic, so all of this is fake data. I'm signed in as Maya here. She's a counselor at our clinic. And if I were to set this up for the very first time, if you are a full access user, head over to settings, forms and surveys, and then you'll see all of those forms: intake forms, clinical surveys, and ratings and reviews. Click on view surveys. Here you'll see all the surveys that are listed. You can go ahead and create your very first survey. Today I'm just going to create the GAD-7. I have the option here to set this up individually, which is the most common option we see from our customers here, or you can send it to all patients. If you are a solo practitioner at a single clinic and you see a very specific type of injury or problem, you might send the same survey out to everybody. However, we're more commonly seeing them set up individually. Down below, you get to check the sending method or set this up. You can do it after every appointment, before every appointment if you want to, or on a regular interval. For the GAD-7 and many of these outcomes, they have standards for setting these up. For the GAD-7, I could go in here and select, I'm going to send it every 3 weeks, and the best time to send this, I prefer to send them around 9 o'clock. Then these will appear, be emailed off to your clients. You can choose the custom language you'd like to add in here. So for the communication side, I would just put something as, please fill out this form. Keep it nice and simple. You can put attention in the front. Nice little introduction message, and then there we go. The questionnaire here, you can build them from scratch if you'd like to. Just click on the add item. You can add your check boxes. Then there's another option for adding a score. However, you can also go to our template library for something like the GAD-7. They're very common, and you can see there's quite a few that have been built in here. If you scroll down, you'll find there are some common ones created by the Jane team, and you'll see that they have the score associated with it. If I click the one above, you'll notice that this has a number of chart parts. However, it doesn't have a score associated with the total. If you do click on the one with the score, we have the same questions. It's all built the same, except it does provide a score. Saves you a lot of time during setup. There we go, score out of 21. We'll just insert this, and there is my form. It's automatically set up. All I'll have to do is click save, and I'll see the list of clinical surveys, and then down at the very bottom, I'll see the newest survey available there. For every staff member, they can choose and they can select which surveys they would like. If I head on over to my, there we are, go under templates, just like our chart template feature, you can select which chart templates you'd like. Similarly, you can go to the surveys and you can select the surveys that you would prefer to use. Maya here is a mental health counselor, so we would typically see maybe these 3 enabled on her account. Now, on the day-to-day, if I was to set this up and say Alicia was my first client of the day, head on over there to the profile. If it was a brand new intake, I might go to the profile, and if they haven't been in yet, I can go ahead and click set up, select the survey. If I know they're coming in for maybe depression, I might send the PHQ-9 to them, set it up before their first appointment. I would love them to fill it out 9 hours before, and then the number of occurrences. For now, I just want to send it off for the first one. If you wanted to send this off for a reoccurring appointment, and every single appointment they come in for a certain number of times, you can do that. Or you can set the regular interval. Then click save. Once that's been set up, Jane will start to automatically work magic behind the scenes. Clients are going to see an email, and if I needed to see that email, I could show you that on the next client. Over the course of time, clients are going to fill out that information. I have Lucas set up here on our demo account with that, and he is set up with the PHQ-9, and here we can see the responses already filled out. So we'll see that they'll come in. It'll be 17 out of 27. That might have been the initial intake, and then 12 out of 27, and now we see we're at 11 out of 27. As mentioned before, if we go to the profile, we can see what's in progress just by hovering over the in progress state, or head over to the history. The history will show you the initial survey was sent, and then also the dates of the new entries. If we needed to send a quick reminder if they didn't fill out this form, one way to do that is just to click the action button here. We'll then click email a new questionnaire. Automatically sends that form directly to Lucas. We can also fill it out if they forgot to do it. So many clients of mine, I'd ask them to do something. Of course, they don't do it before they come through the door. It's not a problem. You can do it with them together. Just click fill out, answer those questions. Hopefully it's quite short. And then it's filled out and it's into their chart entry. If you need to, if a client has stopped coming, you can end the survey program so we no longer send those reminders. And then if you ever needed to adjust the sending method, if maybe your client, you set them up to go until the end of July, and now we're heading into September, October, and we want to extend that survey to continue monitoring them, you can do that as well, just by clicking edit method there. I will also head on over to the chart here. So again, this is if you click on their profile, Jane will open up the chart. If you needed to fill out a form manually or a survey manually, maybe it's not a patient reported outcome measure and it's actually a practitioner reported one, you can go into your new chart entry button, just scroll down to the bottom here, and you can select any of those templates that you have before. Let's use that GAD7. There we go, and we can start to fill out the answers with them. And then once you've filled out that whole form, you'll get that final question set up. One of the things I haven't covered yet is that these forms, and one of the things we're looking to expand to in the future, is actually showing you patient progress and being able to slice and dice the data to give you better insights and control into what your patients are doing. Caseload management, how are my patients doing? Are they progressing? Do I need to intervene? Have I seen them for quite a while? Those are all questions that are typically going through providers' heads. And so what we're looking to do is provide you with that information. Because we are looking to do that with our clinical surveys, you'll notice, aren't like normal chart entries. You don't have the option to edit these on the fly. Instead of being able to edit them, what we'll have you do if you ever need to provide an update is when you go back to the template settings area, you can actually duplicate the survey, which builds a brand new survey. Make your changes, save it, and then you can also archive the old one. So if you do ever need to do those updates, you are still able to. You just can't do them on the fly. All right, I believe that's everything for our demo. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to our customer support team down below in the chat, or send us an email, support@jane.app. We'll get you to our inbox, and our team is terrific at answering these questions. So if you have any feedback, feature requests, feel free to send them our way. I do read all of them. My biggest tips here are to spend a little bit of time going through during your setup and really thinking about which surveys you want to create, who in your clinic needs those surveys. If you have a multidisciplinary clinic, I can tell you there are hundreds of outcome measures per discipline. They're all very, very unique. And so select the ones that you need, and then every staff member can just go through and select them as needed. And then from there, once they have them set up, head on over to patient profiles. Really, that's the biggest piece here. Go to the patient profile, head on over to the surveys area, click setup, select the survey you need to send to them, select when they should be receiving it. If it's every 4 weeks, fantastic. You can set a time, and then you can also jump ahead a couple months and click save. Gives you a good pulse. Jane will do the work for you automatically, so you're just getting to review hopefully some information from your client and being able to stay on top of their patient care. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Any feature requests, things you'd like to see, let us know. We are all ears and eyes open as we read emails and check out our community forum board. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me today. Listen to me ramble on about all of our new features. And again, just reach out if you do have any questions. Thanks, and take care.